On the strange island of Euclidia, the magic island of the South Seas, is being enacted one of the weirdest dramas ever seen by man. When Mrs. Gregory brought Captain Tex Bradford and Jerry Hall on her yacht to find her long-lost little daughter Joan, none of them dreamed that the island would be anything like it's been found to be. This artificial island is the headquarters of a group of mad scientists. The Gregory yacht is held powerless at one of the island piers, and Mrs. Gregory and her brave friends try to plan their escape from the island. Just when it seems they have a ray of hope, Jerry disappears.
Are you sure that you saw Jerry follow those scientists in the submarine lock when they went to look for the escaping prisoner, or what they thought was an escaping prisoner?
We watched him carefully. You saw him go into that elevator, didn't you, Joan?
Yes, Mother. Jerry obviously went into the entrance to the submarine chamber elevators. He could have gone no other place.
But what happened to him? If he went down there with those men, why didn't he come back with them?
Oh, Captain Bradford, there might be so many answers to that.
Joan, dear, you don't think they would harm Jerry?
If Jerry got in their way or made them angry, they might punish him in ways that... Oh, Mother, I do not want to talk about such things.
Can't we do something, Tex? Must we just sit here on this helpless yacht and wonder what's happened to that boy?
We would not be allowed to do anything if we tried to.
I'm afraid Joan's right, Pat. I think G-47 and his mad crew have even worse things on this island than Joan has told us about. We couldn't find Jerry unless they want us to. If we insist too hard on anything, it may mean the lives of all of us. And it certainly would mean the end of our chance of escape.
But, Tex, dear, we have no chance to escape as it is.
I think, Captain Tex, that no one will ever escape from Euclidia until G-47 wills it so.
Well, don't be too sure of that. I'll admit it looks bad enough right now. But there's two things to remember. The first one is, I've got a formula these scientists know something of, and they're afraid of it.
What is the formula, Captain?
Tex wouldn't dare tell you now, Joan. Of course, we think we're safe in talking with this cloth screen around us, but how can we be sure this cloth is absolutely opaque to all the waves and rays these fiends control to watch over our movements with?
You may be sure of that, Mother. I know that these men would trust their lives to that cloth. It will successfully refract every light and sound wavelength on the island.
Well, if you're sure of that, Joan, then you can be sure that one of these days we'll get away from Euclidia.
How can that seaweed cloth mean all that, Tex?
I'm not thinking so much of the material as I am of the fluid they soak it in. They do put it in the liquid, you said, Joan?
Yes, Captain. When it is manufactured in the noisy machines I showed you, it is just a cloth made from seaweed. It is a fine and strong and good cloth, but it is not protected against these rays until it has been immersed in the secret liquid preparation.
What are you trying to arrive at, Tex?
Well, I'm going to take a chance on our being safe in here and figure that we can work out a plan without being overheard. After all, we must all understand just what we expect to do. Now, here are 2 points necessary to our rescue.
You mean our escape?
No, I mean rescue. I'm ready to concede that escape is absolutely impossible. So that leaves rescue as our only hope.
But, Captain Bradford, surely you must realize that rescue is also impossible.
On the contrary, dear. We have some things in our world that you know little about. All we need is to get a message through to the government of our country, any civilized country, and a fleet of battleships and airplanes would destroy this island within an hour after they had sighted it.
No, Mother dear, you are mistaken. Your battleships would mean nothing here.
Tex, do you realize what Joan means? Is it possible?
Not only possible, but probably a very conservative statement of a plain fact.
A battle fleet helpless? But how? With what?
I haven't been able to find out yet. Probably we'll never see all the weapons here. But I know without seeing them that this colony of scientific criminals could undoubtedly destroy any war machines a civilized world could send against them.
You are right, Captain. G-47 and the Euclideans have ray guns, no larger than a man's arm, which will destroy a battleship with only a little crying sound.
What is the range of these rays?
I am not sure, but they will not shoot accurately as far as one of the large rifles on your battleships.
There you are, Tex. The heavy armored ships could stay out of range of those ray guns and shell the island.
Yes, and their projectiles would fall all around the island and never touch it. How is a metal projectile, fired at long range and high trajectory, going to enter an area so magnetized that a large boat is held powerless by magnetism? No, there's no help to be expected from that quarter.
And a weapon which might penetrate the defense here could not be brought within range. It would be destroyed.
Then it's just about hopeless, isn't it, Tex?
No, it's going to be hard, but not hopeless.
I don't see what you can be thinking of. We haven't any weapons I ever heard of which would destroy this place, and you admit our battleships and planes would be useless.
Do you know of something in your country which will destroy Euclidia? Something which will rescue us from this terrible island?
Yes, Joan, I do. Just how it can be used and how we are to get word to our friends that we want them to attack and use this weapon, those are things we've got to figure out.
What do you propose to use, Tex?
My formula.
But no one knows the formula except yourself. You would have to send the formula to someone, and how can we do that? We can't even use the radio without G47 hearing it.
And he would get the formula if you attempted to give it to your friends through the air channel.
Yes, I know that, but there must be some way to get that formula to the government chemist in some civilized capital, and we'll find out what that way is.
But what is the formula, Captain? I know that G47 wants it. It was for that reason he allowed your yacht to reach this island, and my mother to find me. What is your wonderful formula, Captain?
I couldn't tell you that. It would be too dangerous. Even if the seaweed cloth does protect us from sight and sound waves, and even if G47 didn't actually hear me tell you the formula, it would expose you to added danger.
Don't you see, my dear? If you knew the formula, G47 might torture you to get it from you. Tex has protected Jerry and me the same way. No one in the world knows the formula but the captain. And everyone knows that he alone has it, so the rest of us are safe in that way.
I did not mean to tell me the ingredients of the formula, but just what it will do. G47 knows that much about it now.
Yes, I thought so. And G47 knows a great deal about my formula. Well, enough of that. We'd better be thinking about Jerry and what we can do for him.
We can do nothing. Only wait. Wait until it pleases G47 to allow Jerry to return to us.
Is this true, Tex? With all your knowledge of science, all my money and influence, and all our friends in the world out there, we must just sit quietly while a mad scientist does as he pleases with one of our party?
Yes, I guess that's about right. Here we are, sitting in a cloth room within a little cabin, trying to plan an escape from the most powerful man the world of science has produced.
I wish Jerry were here. You do not understand the terrible things that could happen to him here on this island.
Don't you think we ought to go and look for him, Tex?
I'm sorry, but I don't. Whatever has happened to the boy, it's something G47 has planned to have happen to him. And for the sake of ourselves, our rescue, and possibly the safety of many others, we've got to keep quiet and let G47 do as he pleases. I think there's no danger of his hurting Jerry, or any of us, unless he gets my formula, then.
J12C calling J24Y. Hello, J24.
There's Johnson.
Hello, J24Y. Hello, Bradford. J12C standing by. Your last message received and logged. Your position 29 south. 124.30 west. Can't understand why no signal from you, since I warned you of storm center at 27 degrees south. We'll be standing by when possible. Johnson standing by.
Good old Johnson. He'll get to us some way. He knows that I would have the receiver standing open if possible. It won't be long until we have a friend within striking distance.
Hey there. What's the idea of the tent?
Oh, it's Jerry.
Come inside the little tent, Jerry, and be careful not to leave any opening.
Boy, have I had a time. And have I seen things.
They didn't hurt you, did they, son?
No, not yet. But they showed me plenty of things they could hurt me with if they wanted to. I've been in their local observation chamber, looking through the instruments that let you see everything on the island, and inside it, too.
Could you see us in here?
No, sir. This cloth is the real stuff. I could see through every other place on the yacht, but this cabin just showed as a black square. We couldn't see or hear anything you were doing here, but we could see the skipper.
Oh, then our plan to keep the skipper in hiding is blown up.
I was of the opinion that it would do no good to hide him in the hold of the boat without this cloth to cover him.
No wonder they weren't more worried about his escape attempt. And of course they gave up looking for him just as soon as their instruments located him on the yacht.
I guess they let me see all that, just so it would scare us out of not trying any more tricks on them.
Yeah, we're going to try one more, just the same. You're sure we can talk freely here, kid?
Oh, absolutely. This cloth stops all the loud and sound waves.
Okay, then. Pat, will you and Joan take a few turns around the deck, just to be sure no one surprises us, while Jerry and I work out a little plan?
Of course, Tex. Come on, Joan. Call us when you're ready.
Now, Jerry, we've got to figure how to get the formula of my universal solvent to Johnson. I didn't want Joan to know about it. Then she'll be safe from G47 when he tries to find out more about it.
The universal solvent? So that's the formula.
Yes, Jerry, I've actually got the formula for a universal solvent.
Oh, swell. Oh, but when you make some of it, What are you going to keep it in?
You're all right, kid. You use your head, don't you?
Well, I figure that if you have something which will dissolve everything in the world, it would be impossible to keep it in any container. It would just eat right through it.
Good boy. But I can do it just the same. And I'll show you how when the time comes. Just now, we've got to figure how to get the formula to Johnson. He's a lot closer to us than he was right now.
Gee, how do you know that?
We just heard his signal. I'm keeping this set hot all the time. Only the receiver, of course. And Johnson said he was standing by. And that the latitude of the storm center is now 27 degrees south. That's all in our code.
I remember. He means he's on his way here with a boat, and he'll stand along north of us at latitude 27 south till we can get a message to him.
Right, kid. And even if they intercepted his message here, they wouldn't get much out of it. Now I know how Johnson can rescue us, if I can figure how to get that formula to him.
But with this magnetic fog of theirs intercepting all our messages, how can we do that? Heck, a code would be too dangerous for that formula.
There is only one way I can think of that a message can be safely run past the automatic protection ring on this island.
Is there really a chance, Tex?
More than a chance. And it's all thanks to Mrs. Gregory's good sense that they're on board. She's carried them on every cruise we've ever made and trained them constantly. Now they're going to save us all. They'll get that message to Johnson.
For the first time since Jerry Hall, Mrs. Gregory, and Tex Bradford have been prisoners on their captive yacht at the magic island of Euclidia, they have a chance to escape. G-47, their mad scientific captor, has allowed them to remain aboard their yacht. With the aid of the opaque cloth made on the island, our friends have insulated a cabin on the yacht and may talk in safety. Their radio is useless for transmission, but through code messages received from the operator on the other Gregory boat, help may soon be near. Captain Bradford is about to explain the plan to Jerry as Joan and her mother come into the cabin.
Now hurry and get under this thing, Pat. You too, Joan. Well, Pat, thanks to you and your determination to take the bosun and bosun's mate with us on every cruise, we're about to get a message to Johnson.
How long will it take Johnson to get within range?
It all depends on what time he sails from San Pedro. We'll keep our receiver open, and he'll let us know when he's within striking distance.
And how much we'll all owe to the little bosun and his mate. I'm certainly glad now we've always carried them and trained them.
Hey, for the love of Pete, will you two quit talking and tell somebody else what it's all about?
Yes, Mother. You and the captain talk so fast. Jerry and I do not know what it is all about.
I'm sorry, Joan. I was just going to explain it to Jerry when you and your mother came back to the cabin.
You see, Joan, dear, we haven't had a chance to show you over the whole boat as yet, and we forgot you hadn't seen the pigeons.
Well, of all the nuts, I'm the worst. I watched those pigeons all the way down here from Los Angeles and never thought to ask a question about them.
But what can pigeons have to do with getting a message to your friend Johnson?
They're not just pigeons. They're homing pigeons. Gosh, and I never even thought of it.
You don't feel too badly, Jerry. You're quick enough to see the significance in most things.
Say, Joan.
Yes, Captain Bradford?
Didn't you ever hear them talk about homing pigeons here on Euclidia?
I have never heard a word about them. So it must be that the scientists do not talk much about them, for they are so sure no one can escape from the island that they discuss most things before all of us.
I hope you're right. It seems possible that you are. This infernal Euclidia is so far ahead of the world in scientific development, they must have forgotten the old standbys, or scorn to use them.
G-47 always says that all things scientific are superior to the finest things in nature.
That belief is the first weakness in the reasoning of G-47 that I have found.
I guess he figures that homing pigeons are old-fashioned.
That may be, but they're the only possible method of getting a message through that magnetized fog and all the other electrochemical devices this island is protected with.
Do these pigeons really carry messages?
You bet they do. And they fly fast, too.
It is wonderful to learn that. We have pigeons on Euclidia also, but they are used only for pigeon pie. We have none that can talk. Only our parrots can talk, and they are not trained to carry messages.
Our pigeons can't talk either, my dear.
Then how do they carry messages?
Oh, Joan.
Now you are laughing at me.
Well, I'm sorry, honey. We shouldn't do that. You see, these pigeons can't talk. We write a message on a piece of thin, strong paper, then tie it to their leg with a fine wire band and turn them loose. They are taught to return to one place, or one kind of a place, and someone is waiting there to get the message.
Well, if we're going to do anything with them, we'd better get busy and send one off, because if old G-47 finds us looking too happy, he'll know we've got some plan, And then he'll make kindling wood out of this yacht to find out what it is.
Nevertheless, we'll have to be patient for several hours, maybe a day or two.
Why can't we let the pigeon go now? Right away.
We've got to wait till Johnson gets the other boat within the range these birds can cover. We're about 4,000 miles from Los Angeles, on this island, and the longest recorded flight over water was only a little over 1,000. And that's about the limit so far as I know.
Well, if Johnson started from here the same time he got my first message that we were in danger, before old G-47 got me with that ray gun and made me change the message, Johnson's boat ought to be 1,000 miles out of San Pedro by now.
How fast does this ship, the ship that Mr. Johnson is in, how fast will it travel?
Well, he'll be using our diesel-motored cruiser, and although it's nearly a 100-foot boat, it's built on hydroplane specifications, and Johnson runs as if it had wings. So he ought to average from 50 to 55 knots for the run.
Golly whiskers. Who ever heard of a big boat going 55 knots an hour for 4,000 miles?
We have a number of things that the world in general never heard of, son. That boat will do all of that. But the worry is that heavily loaded with all my scientific equipment on board, it will burn a lot of fuel.
And how will the fuel be replenished, Captain?
From various ships Johnson will contact along the run. Ships flying Mrs. Gregory's merchant pennant, which will then put out from several ports to meet him.
Boy, you're sure some mysterious people, all right. But just so as it comes out okay, I guess I can wait for the answers till you get ready to give them to me.
You are an intelligent boy, Jerry.
I know it.
Now, you two keep still. We've got to figure just when to get that pigeon off to Johnson. There are many things to be planned and done before this flight can start. One thing, Tex, we must remember that magnetic fog and use string rather than wire on the leg band.
Tex, I know what to do. A thread from this cloth of theirs.
You do not have to worry about that all the time. And sometimes the fog is not magnetized.
Are you sure about that, Joan?
That would make it easier, wouldn't it, Tex?
That would make it almost simple.
But how can you tell that the fog is not magnetized all the time?
I have heard the scientists talking about it. They magnetize the fog only when danger is near, and they have instruments which warn them of a boat or airplane 100 miles away. G-47 says the constant utilization of current in the magnetism of the fog ring is too heavy a drain on the electric supply, which is difficult to replenish quickly.
Well, that sounds reasonable. With all the machines they have running, all electrically driven, I imagine, they should conserve their power as much as possible. But how can you tell when the fog is magnetized and when it is not?
It is magnetized only when the danger signal shows.
Where is this danger signal, Gag?
There is a red light in the center of the island by night and a red signal by day.
Then if we make sure the red light is not displayed, we may safely send the pigeon.
I think it will be quite safe, Mother.
It looks as if we're getting somewhere at last.
But suppose G-47 discovers these pigeons before we can use them.
I got it. It's dark now. I'll go out and get the pigeons and bring them in here. Then he can't see them through this cloth.
I will go with you, Jerry.
Now hold it, you kids. We'd better not go near the pigeons till we want them.
But, Tex, what if someone on the island notices them before we want them?
Did you see the pigeons when you looked in that machine in their headquarters, Jerry?
Sure. I saw everything on the yacht. The pigeons were playing.
Yeah, I thought so. And we don't dare to move them. Chances are they haven't attracted any attention. Maybe they won't. But you can bet someone is watching this boat every minute. And if anything was moved and brought in here where they couldn't see it, they'd be down for a look-see in a second.
If G-47 knows all about the things these pigeons can do, and he must know it, I cannot understand how he let you keep them at all. He would know they could fly out with messages.
That worries me, too. Do you suppose they're just waiting to trap us when we use the pigeons?
They're smart enough to be at that. G-47 might figure I'd try to send a pigeon out with a formula.
Joan knows all these guys and how crazy they are. What do you think about it?
It is obvious that G-47 knows about the pigeons, and he would know that they were, what you called them?
Homing pigeons.
Yes, homing pigeons. But he is so scornful of nature and so secure in his own inventions that he might be careless about it.
That's possible, of course. Every man will make a mistake sometime, and this may be the one G-47 will make.
Tex, how close has Johnson got to be to us before there's a good chance of these birds getting to his boat?
We'll let him get as close as possible, though these are well-trained birds, well cared for, and in the best of condition. They should make 500 miles straight as an arrow and right on schedule, providing weather conditions and other influences were favorable, of course.
How far away will these automatic alarms on the island detect a foreign object?
A large boat with motors can be located 200 miles away, an airplane 10,000 feet in the air, and even a rowboat or a swimmer 20 to 25 miles.
And these alarms are strictly automatic, operating and registering disturbances all the time?
At all times. And everything which comes within range of the alarms leaves a record on a recording device.
Gosh, this is sure a tough one.
If we get out of this one, we'll have something to tell the folks back home. And I think we'll get out sometime.
Well, how will we know when Johnson is near enough to turn loose one of the birds?
He'll keep on our radio beam, and we have a code that is simple but effective. So we'll be advised of his position at all times.
I hope these men don't get wise to the fact that receiving Johnson's apparently hopeless message is of value to us. It would be easy enough for them to block Johnson's carrier wave.
Captain Bradford, do not think me impertinent. You are a wise man, and I am only a young girl. But I would like to offer a little advice.
Your offer is gladly accepted. Advice is what we need most of.
I should figure, in your place, that G47 knows what every message you receive means to you. And the only reason he is letting you receive them is that he believes he can trap you into something which may give him access to your formula.
Oh, gee whiz, Joan. You're too scared of that old guy.
Joan has lived here all her life, Jerry. 14 of her 15 years. And she's seen many things done on this island that we couldn't even imagine.
Well, just the same, everybody's got to make a mistake. And it's old G47's turn now.
I think you may be right, Jerry, but we should be very careful.
Now, here's another place where you can be a lot of help to us, Joan. Suppose we do get a pigeon free. Get one outside the fog wall and start it north for Johnson's boat. What if they to run it down with or catch it?
The large ray guns would do it, but they are not too accurate at any great distance.
How much is a great distance to these guys?
Something less than 50 miles, I think.
That seems a long way to us, my dear.
Too far. But suppose the pigeon got away for, say, an hour and a half to 2 hours before they discovered it. Then what? These birds do 40 miles an hour.
The floor of the island would open up, and a fleet of tiny airplanes shoot out. They will fly over 500 miles an hour and stay in the air for 18 hours.
And they'd soon fly the birds down.
Our only hope is to get a pigeon out soon after dark and hope they don't discover it till daylight.
Are you sure the pigeon can find the other boat?
Yeah. Suppose he sees something else to land on. What then?
Those pigeons have been trained between these two boats and never failed. They've covered distances up to 500 miles, and I think they could do 1,000 if they had to.
And Johnson has a pair on his boat, which are trained to come to this boat. And only exhaustion would make them land on anything else.
That's right, and that's something else to worry about.
How come?
Well, if Johnson should send a pigeon before we do, the pigeon thing is exposed.
Yes, but
Quiet, here's Johnson.
J24Y. J12 calling Bradford on J24Y. Can you hear me, J24Y? No signal from you. Your beam may be broken by a storm. I am using land relay. Storm directly on Los Angeles beam to last position you gave me. Stand by for location of storm center. Try to reach me through land relay.
Quiet now. When he gives us a location of the storm center, that will be his own position. He's telling us in code how near his boat is to us.
Advise you try directional beam to coast of Chile. Ask them relay to me. Storm center. Can you hear me? Storm center is...
48 hours on the magic island. 48 hours in this strange scientific colony called Euclidia. The cabins of the Gregory yacht are now completely lined with the sound and light-proof cloth of the island. The Gregory party can talk in privacy, as the delicate recording instruments of the scientists cannot penetrate the opaque cloth of their own manufacture. G47, mad genius of the island, has allowed Mrs. Gregory, her daughter, and friends to remain aboard their yacht, tied to the island. Captain Bradford, Mrs. Gregory, Joan, and Jerry are grouped in the radio cabin of the yacht. It is midnight, their third midnight at the island.
Well, what do you think of your new suit, Jerry?
Oh, it's all right, I guess, but Mrs. Gregory isn't so hot as a tailor.
I'm sorry, Jerry, but it will do for our purpose.
You look quite nice in a suit of Euclidean kelp cloth, I think, Jerry.
There you are, Jerry. Joan likes it, so you're all right.
Oh, I don't care much how it looks, just so as it does the trick.
There isn't any other way to get the pigeon into the cabin here without someone on Euclidia noticing it.
Are you so sure, Captain Bradford, that this pigeon will fly to the other boat and find it?
I never knew one of these birds to fail yet.
I wish we'd hear from Johnson again. How close do you figure him to be now, Tex?
He's not more than 700 or 800 miles, and likely making about 40 knots now. He'll be slowing up as he gets nearer to try and discover what's wrong with us before he runs into needless danger himself.
He'd never dream the sort of place we're prisoners on. And with G-47 blocking our radio beam, we haven't a thing but the homing pigeons to warn him with.
What message will you send with the pigeon, Captain?
I'll have to send instructions about my formula. It is the only thing to attack the island with.
But suppose the pigeon goes to the wrong boat or makes to land someplace. Then your formula will be in someone else's hands.
No matter who gets what I send, any country in the world would come to our aid here. Remember that our escape will probably mean the only chance there is of saving the entire world from scientific conquest by these madmen.
Joan, dear, what do you think their attitude would be if they should take over the world? Are they criminals or merely power mad?
I think they are mad for power. Selfish ambition to rule over and terrorize people. They speak of people in your world as dumb animals, only fit to do the bidding of the Euclideans.
Then I'm afraid the world would be just a gigantic laboratory for them to experiment with.
I think that, Mother. And I know they plan to put machines at work in place of human brains, to experiment on people as they do now on animals, and rule the world by science.
Nice people to meet on a dark night. Golly, but we've got a job ahead of us. If we can only get off this crazy island and destroy it, we can really save the world.
This is war, Jerry, and a war that means freedom for the civilized people of the world. We've got to win. Our lives mean very little at a time like this.
Our lives will mean plenty to the rest of the world if we can just keep alive long enough to get this message through to Johnson.
Ready for me to bring the pigeon in now?
Might as well, Jerry. Now look, try to act natural standing in front of the coat, and look all around carefully. When you are sure no one is looking, slip the pigeon inside your suit and come back in here.
Wait, Jerry. Be sure the warning light in the center of the island is not burning. That will mean the electrical eyes on the island are not working. The fog will not be magnetized, and only the long beam signals will be sweeping the ocean outside the fog ring.
You're a great help, my dear. You remember everything.
We on Euclidia are well trained in observation.
Okay, Jerry, go to it. Watch your step and go slowly and naturally, both going and coming back.
Right. I'll take my time.
Now, Joan, you know more about this island than we do. What do you think Jerry's chances are to get that pigeon and return here without being seen?
He will undoubtedly be seen, but there is a possibility that no one will notice him taking the pigeon from its usual place and slipping it under his coat.
And you are sure this cloth will keep the islanders from seeing he's carrying anything unusual under his coat?
If he is not stopped and searched because he's wearing the special cloth suit, no one will see through it.
Oh, Tex, we should have thought of that. Of course there'll be a guard on the yacht, and he'll stop Jerry and question him about that suit.
Got to chance it.
But G-47 promised to outfit us completely in the cloth tomorrow. Then we could have done this without arousing any suspicion.
You are right, Mother. It would have been much wiser to wait until tomorrow night to try and get the pigeon from the stern of the yacht.
I know it would from a detection angle, but we can't afford waiting till tomorrow night.
Why not, Tex? Johnson will have the other boat much nearer then, and the pigeons would reach it easily and quickly.
Exactly, and Johnson would also be reached easily and quickly by the devices they have here on this mad island.
That is also true, Captain. Your other boat will be in danger of being reported on these delicate instruments of G-47s when it is within 200 miles.
That was stupid of me, wasn't it, Tex?
No, this is enough to mix anyone up. We'll all think together.
Naturally, we must get word to Johnson while he's still out of range of their detectives. But, Joan, you said the Euclideans watched our yacht all the way from the coast of California to this island. 4,000 miles. How then is Johnson safe to within 200 miles?
They were watching for you to sail. When they use the universal prism reflectors with full power on a narrow focus, they have a range of 8,000 miles. But the object must be in daylight, and the apparatus is strictly directional.
Good. Then at night, and Johnson will be running down the same time zone we lie in, at night all they use is a general wide-range detector. And this is no good beyond 200 miles?
That is right, Captain.
Then the quicker we get the pigeon off to Johnson, the better. As our plans might go for nothing, even if the bird made the boat, but Johnson was caught.
Yes, Mother. G-47 would send out a submarine or straighter-plane and destroy him before daylight.
Have you the message all written out, Tex?
This tiny roll of paper contains all the information Johnson needs. That is, all he will need for the present. If this gets through, it's a matter of routine to finish the job.
And this pigeon must get through, Tex. I feel that we'd never be given a second chance. It's now or never.
I got him all right, and not a soul was anywhere near the yacht.
But that yellow haze, how could you see through it?
They are not using the sub-ultraviolet fog tonight. It is too difficult to generate and uses up too much of the supply of gas. They only use it in time of danger.
Or when they want to impress someone with their tricks, as they did when we landed. All right, we'd better lose no time now. Handle the pigeon carefully, kid.
Right.
They're mighty sensitive about how they're handled.
Oh, what a nice little bird. It doesn't seem possible that it could fly as fast and as far as you say.
Homing pigeons are very wonderful, my dear, and they seldom fail.
Now hold him gently but firmly, Jerry, while I tie this roll of paper on his leg. I'm using Euclidean cloth thread, so there's no danger of any magnetic force holding this little fellow back.
How do I let him go?
Better just walk around the deck again. Take a turn all the way around. Then when you stroll slowly up near the stern on the starboard side, just open your coat and let it out. Then keep on walking. Take another turn of the boat if it seems natural, and don't hurry back in here.
Will that message not blow off in the wind?
Not the way Tex is tying it on. He's tied too many of them.
No, sir. This note will stay with the pigeon till Johnson takes it off.
Are you sure the pigeon can find the other boat in the dark?
They've been trained as much in night flying as in day.
They'll do it easily enough, but this one won't have to. It ought to be daylight when he reaches the boat.
But how will Mr. Johnson catch it without hurting it?
There's a coat on Johnson's boat to which this bird has been trained to fly. The door will be open, and the bird goes in. That's all there is to it.
I wish we knew exactly where Johnson was. It would be a shame to start the poor little cruiser off with its goal out of reach.
No danger of that if Johnson's last position was correct, and he keeps coming at 40 knots or better.
There he is, Jerry. Handle him gently. Do just as I told you. And if you should meet anyone, you're just going for a walk. Someone is likely patrolling the pier along the yacht rail.
Be careful, Jerry.
I will. Don't worry so much.
Better button up your coat. It's loose enough so it won't crush the bird. And let your arms swing naturally as you walk around the deck. Good luck, kid.
Well, here I go again. Now, don't worry about anything.
Oh, Tex.
Don't be nervous, Pat. It's out of our hands now.
Jerry will do it right, Mother. He's a very clever boy.
I know that, dear, but it's such a strain. We've been tied up to this ghastly island just over 48 hours now. And it seems like a lifetime.
No good to worry about it, Pat. You and Joan better go to your own cabin and get some rest as soon as Jerry gets the pigeon started.
How long will it be before we get an answer?
Well, that all depends on...
J24Y. J12C calling J24Y.
Hold it. There's Johnson now. At least they haven't stopped the incoming beams.
J12 to J24Y. Hello, J24. J12C reporting. No signal from you. Land stations report they cannot raise you. Taking chance of this getting through to you. Storm warning. Storm center near your last reported position. May be reason you cannot get signal to me. Serious storm is reported moving directly north of you. Storm moving south at terrific speed. Present storm center, 17 degrees south. If you are getting my signal, advise you run out of storm course. Land stations report all radio channels near you blocked by some terrific electrical disturbance. If you can hear me, run for it. Storm center, 17 degrees south. Confirm if you can hear me. That is all. Johnson on J12C.
Oh, Tex, he's coming fast, isn't he?
I'll say he is 17 degrees south, eh? And we're only 29.
Then he's just 12 degrees north of us.
I'm so excited I can't figure it out in my head. You got a pencil, Tex?
Yeah, and I'm using it for that same little thing.
I've got it figured, Mother.
You have?
You mentally converted degrees into miles that fast?
Of course, that is simple. Oh, I did not use the fractions, but there are approximately 69 statute or land miles to a degree at this latitude.
Joan, you know the conversion tables by memory?
You certainly got an education on this island. There isn't one person in 100 who could figure that in their head, even if they knew the conversion tables.
12 degrees at 69 miles to a degree is 828 miles.
Then if Johnson is making 40 knots an hour or more...
He's making plenty more. He said storm traveling south at terrific speed. And terrific speed with Johnson means all the boat will do. And the pigeon will make 40 going to meet him if the wind is favorable.
Then they should meet in less than 5 hours.
Right you are. Johnson will have that message at daylight.
But suppose G47 has figured out Johnson's code. What if he knows that every time Johnson reported the storm center, he was giving his own position?
He's sure to know it. For one thing, his own radio beam will tell him there is no storm. He knows Johnson's coming, and he wants him to keep on coming, so he can capture that boat also, as he probably knows most of our equipment is on it.
But if Johnson is captured, we can do nothing.
Don't worry, dear. That pigeon will get to Johnson's boat 300 or 400 miles from here, and Johnson will turn and run out of the danger the minute he reads the message.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. Everything's swell. Not a soul was on our side of the island, and the pigeon took off into the north side of the fog like a bullet after he'd fluttered around a minute and got his bearings.
Oh, Mother, the pigeon really got away.
I'll say he got away.
And it won't be long till we all get away.
Jerry Hall and his friends have now been more than 48 hours on the Magic Island. And in these weird and terrifying surroundings, it seems much longer than that. However, they have found Mrs. Gregory's long-lost daughter, Joan. And though they are all prisoners of the mad scientist G-47, and the Gregory yacht is tied fast to one of the piers on the island of Euclidia, there is a spirit of hope on board, as Joan and her mother talk in Mrs. Gregory's cabin, while Jerry and Captain Tex Bradford are busy in another.
You should be in bed, Joan, dear. It's nearly 1 o'clock in the morning, and you must be tired after all this excitement.
No, Mother, I am not tired, even though Jerry said my eyes looked like 2 fried blankets.
Not exactly that. Jerry said your eyes looked like 2 fried holes in a blanket.
But that is even more impossible. It would be possible to fry a blanket, I think, if there were any reason for it. But to fry a hole, that is out of the question entirely.
You must learn to take all Jerry says with a grain of salt.
Take it with a grain of salt?
There now. I've done almost as badly as Jerry. You'll learn our strange way of speaking someday, my dear. We have a number of expressions that, while probably not correct English, make our meaning known and are in common usage.
I like everything you and your friends say and do, Mother. Captain Bradford is a fine man, and I like that foolish boy Jerry also. I would not like to see anything happen to him, but if he does not use more respect in speaking to G-47, I dread to think what the result will be.
Jerry is young and hot-tempered, but he's really a very intelligent young man. And with Tex to steady him, I think Jerry is no more likely to get into trouble than the rest of us.
I am worried about that little bird Jerry sent off, the homing pigeon. Something will happen to it. Mother, it is not easy to send a message from this island.
You're too afraid of G-47 and his group of scientists, Joan. After all, they're only human, and all humans make mistakes. I think the pigeon has a very good chance to get that message through to Johnson.
Even if the message does get through, what then?
Hi, Joan. Mrs. Gregory. Captain Bradford will be along in a minute.
I'm glad to see you in your own clothes again, Jerry. Yes, I think it was dangerous to have made that coat for you out of the opaque cloth. Someone might have seen you wearing it and thought you had the pigeon hidden under it.
The pigeon got away all right. That's the main thing.
But how can you be sure it got away safely, Jerry?
Well, the only place any of these scientists are is right on the island, inside that magnetic fog ring. Isn't that right?
That is probably so.
Then if the pigeon got through the fog ring all right, there would be no way for anyone on the island to detect it.
No. Are you sure there was nothing metallic on the pigeon?
Oh, no danger there. But I feel that Jerry must have been seen as he turned the pigeon loose. It doesn't seem right that he could walk boldly to the stern of the yacht, take a homing pigeon out of his coat, release it, stand there and watch it disappear through the fog without being observed by someone on the island.
It's too dark out there for anyone to see anything.
But how about the glasses with which they see through the yellow darkness? It may have been dark to you and light as day to those scientists on the island.
Jerry, is the yellow darkness being used tonight?
Nope, just plain old black dark out there. So dark you can't even see the sky.
Then G-47 and his assistants can see no better than the rest of us. They have nothing with which to increase their clarity of vision through natural darkness. It is only regarding the convenient dissipation of such artificial obscurity as has been created for their express purposes that they have attained any marked degree of efficacy.
Swell. But what does it mean? Cut it up in little pieces so I can play too, will you?
Cut it up?
Now, Jerry, stop teasing Joan. You know perfectly well what she means.
Well, what if I do? She just thinks she's smart. Show off all those big words.
Is it that you do not understand the big words, Jerry?
Oh, I understand the big words, all right, but... Well, you're too stuck up.
Now, Jerry, Joan doesn't understand that, and I'm sure she didn't mean to be stuck up, as you put it.
Stuck up? I'm afraid I do not follow you, Jerry.
You follow me, all right, but you'll never catch up with me.
Jerry, please don't be rude.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Gregory. I didn't mean to be rude, but... Well, I think she's trying to kid me.
No, she isn't. Joan is confused by all our slang, and she's quite right, Jerry. We do speak badly.
Yeah, I guess we do. I'm sorry, Joan. I didn't mean to make fun of you.
You are a nice boy, Jerry, and I know that if you say anything not nice, it is just because you do not know the correct manner of saying it. And I will gladly teach you how things should be done and said.
Oh, boy. This is sure something good.
Well, this seems to be a happy party.
I'm glad you're here, Tex. These two are almost beyond me.
Captain Bradford,
Yes, Joan?
did you see or hear anyone near the yacht?
Not a soul.
Then there may be a bare possibility.
Bare possibility of what?
Joan is worried, Tex, about the pigeon. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, Mrs. Gregory.
Safe enough to talk now, with all this cloth all over the cabin. All over the yacht, in fact. We can talk in safety, and all's well.
I do not feel sure all is well. How long has the pigeon been gone?
It's just half an hour since I turned it loose.
It should be 15 or 20 miles from here by now.
Yes, there's a little wind from the south. Right on his tail. He should be making 40 miles an hour.
But will the poor little bird get lost flying at night?
Oh, those little fellows are smart, all right. I got about all those books on homing pigeons read. Have you got any more, Mrs. Gregory?
We've got lots more books on pigeons back home in Los Angeles. You can read them when we get home, kid.
Captain Bradford, why is it you call Jerry the kid? I thought a kid was a young goat.
Now you're getting what I got, Tex.
You're right, Joan. I shouldn't use that expression. But if we're around you long enough, you'll have our English all straightened out for us.
And, Joan, there is one thing I must tell you. It's very rude for younger people to correct older ones.
Even if the older ones are wrong?
Give it up, Pat. We've got a lot to learn about each other, Joan, and it takes time. Now about the pigeon. Sure it got away, Jerry?
Oh, sure. It fluttered around a minute, acted kind of mixed up, then it got straightened out and took off through the fog due north. That is, if this pier runs north and south.
It does. This is Pier 5, and directly across the island is Pier 11. The two piers are exactly north and south. Will the pigeon fly to the boat your Johnson is on, or will he fly to Los Angeles?
Oh, he couldn't reach Los Angeles if he tried to. But he won't try.
I think that is wonderful. Do you train them to do that, or do they do it naturally?
They're very carefully trained, Joan. Anyone can train them who has a little patience and will take a few minutes a day with them. We have many pairs of them in Los Angeles, each pair trained to go to a different place or type of place.
You start them out just a little way at a time, don't you?
The pair we carry on this yacht, the one Jerry just released and the other still in the coat, were trained to go to the boat Johnson is now using. And they will go to that boat no matter where it is, though it seems easier for them if they make their long flights in the same general direction as their training flights.
Tell me about training them, will you please, Mother?
We started them when they were so young they really just flapped their wings and walked. It was hardly flying. The two boats were anchored side by side in the harbor, and we put a runway between them so the young birds wouldn't fall into the water and become frightened.
I read all about how to do that. You put their food and water at the other end of the board, inside a little coat, and taught them to go over after it. Isn't that it?
Yes, Jerry. And each day we increased the distance they had to go and kept raising their coat up the mast until they could fly into it easily and naturally.
That is wonderful, Mother. I think more wonderful than any of the scientific discoveries on this island.
The more we learn about science, any of the sciences, the more we learn how wonderful nature is. Did you ever stop to think that no matter how much we may learn about the universe and the things that make it up, we are only learning the things nature has known all along?
Gee, I never thought of it that way. But you're right. Here these little homing pigeons take off from a strange place in the dark and fly straight for a boat hundreds of miles away.
How long will we have to wait?
That'll depend on how far Johnson is from us when the pigeon meets his boat, and also on whether we will be allowed to receive a radio message when Johnson sends us one.
Well, suppose Johnson tries to send one of his pigeons to us. I mean, before ours gets to him.
That might be dangerous, Tex.
I think not. The chances are G-47 will discover this bird is missing at daylight, if he hasn't discovered it already. And by that time, the damage is done anyhow.
But Johnson would not know about the magnetic fog and all these things on Euclidia. Might he not use some metal to fasten the message to the pigeon?
He might, though we got some word of the magnetic fog to him in our first radio message. And Johnson is clever.
That fog wouldn't hurt the pigeon, would it?
No, but the metal on it would set off the alarm, and the pigeon would be held to the fog until rescued.
The danger of that is, as soon as the magnetism was released, the pigeon would be frightened and confused and either fall into the water or get lost trying to get back to Johnson.
Yes, and if Johnson's boat is too far away, these young birds might not make the return trip.
Is there nothing we can do about it?
Nothing, dear. For if we acted as if we were too interested in that magnetic fog ring, it would only attract suspicion to us. The longer that pigeon is gone before G47 knows, the better our chances are.
Right. And now there's only one sensible thing to do. Took it right out of my mouth. It's 2 bells. Time we all try to sleep. Nothing more we can do tonight, and worry won't help the little pigeon a bit. Come on, Jerry.
Good night, Mrs. Gregory. Good night, Joan.
Good night, Jerry.
Skipper will be on deck till daylight. Jerry and I'll take a turn now and then. Get some rest, Pat. Good night, Joan.
Good night, Jake.
Captain.
And now to bed, my dear. First time we've really been able to go to bed in 2 days and nights.
It all seems too wonderful to be true, Mother dear.
Come here, Joan. Kneel down by your mother, and we'll say our prayers together. Just as I've always dreamed we might say them someday.
I do not understand, Mother. What is it to say a prayer?
Oh, my dear little girl. With all your knowledge. I might have known it, of course. What would these mad Euclideans know of prayer?
Is it something I should know, Mother?
It's something no human being has ever lived happily without. I'll teach you the little prayer I said when I was a girl. A prayer I've waited 14 years to teach you. And you can say it after me, dear. 15 years old, and no one ever thought to teach you a little prayer.
Why do you cry, Mother?
What? Because I'm happy to know, dear, that with all your learning, there's at least one thing left for your mother to teach you. Now, repeat after me. Now I lay me down to sleep.
Now I lay me down to sleep.
I pray the Lord my soul to keep.
I pray the Lord my soul to keep.
If I should die before I wake.
If I should die before I wake.
I pray the Lord my soul to take.
I pray the Lord my soul to take.
When Jerry Hall managed to get a homing pigeon off through the magnetic fog ring surrounding the Magic Island, the hopes of the Gregory party ran high. Several hours have now passed. It is daylight. The pigeon should have reached the rescue boat with Johnson aboard, but no word has come from Johnson. The radio is silent. Mrs. Gregory and Joan are pacing the deck of the yacht, waiting for news, while Jerry and Captain Tex Bradford are looking around on the strange Isle of Euclidia.
Here it is after 8 o'clock, Joan. That pigeon has been gone for 8 hours. And if Johnson has the other boat in the position we expect him to be in... Oh, I forgot we're being overheard, of course.
No, Mother. When the fog ring is down and the air is clear, as you see it today, it is almost impossible for the sound waves to be picked up this far from the control room. It is only when we are indoors or against some opaque surface that the danger of being overheard is great. And with the fog ring down, there is nothing for the sound waves to be refracted from.
Then G47 and his men must figure that they're very safe today.
I have never seen the island as unprotected as it appears to be now. And that is dangerous, Mother.
In what way, dear?
Nothing on Euclidia is ever what it appears to be. And the fact that it is apparently quiet and safe makes me very sure that some horrible danger threatens.
Well, what could happen, Joan? I feel we're all reasonably safe so long as G47 wants Captain Bradford's formula and doesn't get it.
That is true. But how long will it be before he does get it?
I think you're needlessly afraid of these scientists, Joan. Tex Bradford is one of the cleverest men I know, and it's entirely possible that he may outwit G47.
I hope you are right, Mother dear.
How good it is to hear you say that, Mother dear. For 14 long years I've looked the world over for you, and at last we're together. Everything seems so bright and cheerful today. The sea so green and sparkling, the air so clear. It's almost as if this island were all a horrible dream.
All that is because the alarms and prisms show there is no boat within 200 miles of us. But let one of those alarms ring, or a shadow cross the plate of one of the reflectors, and in less than 30 seconds the ring of magnetic fog will surround and cover the island, and it becomes just a prism, shut off from the world.
We'll find some way to get back to that world, dear, and then you'll love it just as we do.
One thing that worries me, Mother...
Yes, dear?
That little pigeon left there in his coat. Should we not hide it? G-47 was taken away as soon as he discovers the other one has been used.
Tex and I thought of that, but decided it was safer to leave it there.
But, Mother... Mother?
Yes, of course, but he should be.
Mother, what are you talking about?
What? Oh, excuse me, dear. But the significance of something you said a moment ago just occurred to me.
Something I said?
Yes, you said the fog was not in use, and the watch relaxed on the island because the alarms registered no disturbance within 200 miles.
That is right, Mother. A boat of any size with motors running would set off the alarms at 200 miles.
Then that means that Johnson is not where we expected him to be. He should be within 200 miles. And if he's not, where is he?
Would that mean the little pigeon could not get to him?
It might, though twice the distance would be easy for the bird. But if Johnson's boat is running away or far off the course, it could give the pigeon serious trouble.
Then Captain Bradford's formula would be lost with the little pigeon.
The formula wouldn't matter if it didn't fall into someone else's hands, as Tex could always write that out from memory. But I would hate to lose the little Homer. We've used them all over the world and never lost one.
Mother, this Tex you call Captain Bradford, his name is Charles Bradford, is it not?
Yes, dear. Tex is only a nickname. Most of the captain's old friends call him that. I think he learned to fly in Texas during the war.
And your name is Patricia. Yet Captain Bradford calls you Pat. Is that also a nickname?
Yes, dear. Pat is short for Patricia.
Well, then I want a nickname also. The captain is Tex, you are Pat, Gerald is Jerry, and I want to be... It is not so easy to make a nickname for Joan, is it?
I want to hear your name, Joan. It's both short and pretty, and I like it.
It is a nice name, Joan Gregory. And you gave my name to this beautiful boat. You're a wonderful mother.
Hey, Mrs. Gregory, Joan, where are you?
Back here at the stern rail, Jerry.
Okay, come up.
That Jerry is such a noisy boy, Mother. But I like him. He always wants to laugh and make fun of things.
Jerry's a fine, happy lad, and Tex and I are glad we brought him.
Oh, boy, have I got some news. Captain Bradford sent me over here to tell you folks about it. He'll be along in a minute.
What is it, Jerry?
You have a happy sound in your voice, Jerry. It must be that you have good news.
Has Tex found out something to our advantage?
He sure has. But we'd better get in the cabin, Mrs. Gregory.
It is perfectly safe to talk here, Jerry, when the fog ring is down.
That's what you think. But when I was over in the sound chamber with Tex, we heard you and Mrs. Gregory talking about the pigeon.
Oh, then we said too much.
Oh, you didn't say anything G-47 didn't know already. He saw there was only one pigeon at daylight, and of course he tumbled quick that the other one had been sent away. He just laughed at us.
Then what could you have to tell that would be good news?
Well, come inside the cabin where we'll be safe with the opaque cloth.
All right.
Then I'll tell you about it as much as I can till Tex gets here.
Now, what is it, Jerry?
Well, old G-47 let Tex and I look through the universal prison reflectors. They were trying to locate Johnson's boat. They got wise about the boat as soon as they noticed the pigeon was going, I guess.
And could you see the boat, Jerry?
Yeah, that's why old G-47 is up a tree.
G-47 is up a tree?
Oh,
Where is the tree, Jerry?
forget it. I mean, it's got G-47's goat.
Got his goat? But G-47 has no goat.
Never mind, my dear. Just let Jerry tell his story.
Gee, thanks, Mrs. Gregory. I can't teach English and tell a story at the same time. Now, look. G-47 is worried because a boat got inside the 200-mile alarm limit without setting off the alarm. And it's Johnson's boat, too, I guess. But Tex wouldn't say a word in front of those scientists over there. Just look wise.
Well, that doesn't sound just right, though, Jerry. Johnson would have been tearing along with his motors wide open, and that alarm would surely have picked it up.
Can't that boat be used as a sailboat?
Why, of course, it's equipped with sail as an emergency measure, but I still...
But nothing. Johnson's got the sails up. The motors ain't working, and he's sneaking within 200 miles of here.
That is remarkable, Jerry. Could you see the boat plainly in the reflectors?
Yeah, we could see it all right. But that's where the big laugh comes in, and old G-47 is stuck.
I can't see why you feel so cheerful about it, Jerry. Joan has told us that their aeroplanes will do 500 miles an hour.
Yes, Jerry. And if Johnson's boat has been located within 200 miles of here, it will be an easy matter for G-47's men to go out and destroy it and be back here in less than an hour.
Well, I guess it would be if G-47 wanted to destroy it.
Jerry, what do you mean?
Well, what I mean is... Oh, here's Tex now. He can tell you better than I can.
Well, Jerry, I see you've started on the news.
Well, he hasn't told us enough to do us any good, Tex.
Is your Mr. Johnson's boat really within the 200-mile limit, Captain?
Yes, and our scientific friends don't seem to know just what to do about it.
But, Tex, they'll attack Johnson, won't they?
I think not. I dropped a hint or two as to what would happen if they did.
But, Captain, it would be very easy for these Euclideans to destroy one boat without danger to themselves.
Sure. But that's the catch in it, Joan. They don't want to destroy it.
G-47 figures that Johnson has come to rescue us, and that he will have all our valuable equipment on board, including the materials necessary to compound my formula. And naturally, he wants those materials.
Then why doesn't he just capture the boat and take what he wants? Though he wouldn't find it on board, would he?
No, but as I started to tell you, I dropped a small hint that spoiled all their plans, and will hold them steady for a while, I think. G-47 admitted he knew about the pigeon. So I admitted that the message on the pigeon contained orders to Johnson to abandon and destroy the ship if attacked.
Did you really send such orders?
No, but G-47 won't harm that boat as long as he thinks anything of value is on it.
Wonderful, Tex. Now we have time to get the truth to Johnson.
I do not like it at all.
Why? What's the matter with it?
G-47 would not give up so easily. Something is wrong.
What could he do about it?
Many things. And I'm afraid you will hear more from G-47 about this.
Oh, you're always so gloomy.
Joan has lived 14 years on this island, Jerry. She knows more about the power here than we do.
Even so, I don't see where anything could be wrong with this unless... That could be it.
What, Tex?
Joan, could those reflectors they let me look in be tampered with? I mean, so that they could distort the image from me and see it clearly themselves? See something they did not let me see?
I am not sure, but I know that unless you understand the readings of all the instruments and graphs on them, it would be easy to confuse you as to what you were looking at.
Gee, Tex, you don't think there's any mistake about that? You'd know Johnson's boat, wouldn't you? I mean, as plain as we could see it there.
Well, I ought to, kid, but Joan has set me wondering.
You think it's possible they showed you a false image or the image of another boat just to get you to say or do something that might help them to locate and run down Johnson's boat easier?
How about that, Joan? Could that be done?
It could be done easily. I remember when that poor old sailor was here on the island, the Euclideans would often let him look in the reflectors and show him a battleship approaching, telling him it was coming to take him home. And then they'd laugh at him and show him it was merely a reflection of a ship model being built in one of the construction chambers right here on the island.
Oh, this is certainly a mad setup.
Joan's all worried because G-47 isn't worried enough about the pigeon. What do you think, Captain?
Well, it worries me, too. And now that Joan has shown me that my visit to the reflectors might have been just a game at my expense, I don't know.
And then, too, you must remember that the alarm did not ring. And if your boat was within 200 miles, it should have rung.
And if the boat is not within 200 miles, that's equally as bad. Because Johnson couldn't possibly know enough of what we're up against here to keep outside the 200-mile limit.
That one code message we got through to him on the radio, that might have tipped him off to staying away.
Yeah, but if he turned off too soon and ran away too fast and too far, pigeon didn't get to him. So there we are, right back where we started. Come in.
G-47.
Oh, gee whiskers.
The pigeon. He's got the pigeon, Tex.
Yes, I see.
If you have finished your stupid soliloquies, one of you might want to take this pigeon and return it to the coat.
Then the pigeon didn't get through the fog? But why? There's nothing metallic on it.
A ring of gas within the fog. The bird fell to the island.
Then you've had that pigeon since midnight last night?
And all that show of worry over the boat and the reflectors was for my benefit, eh?
Tex, your formula's gone from the bird's leg.
Oh, Captain Bradford, G-47 has your formula.
Precisely. My assistants are working to compound it in the laboratory now. When they succeed, the lives of you three will be of no further use to the world.